I hope you guys enjoyed Jonah's Awful as much as I have, because it's time for things to dive down a steep shit cliff with Loch Henry. Loch Henry has some beautiful cinematography in rural Scotland. We get this amazing opening sequence of our protagonists, Davis and Pia, driving to meet with Davis's mother, Janet, who shows concern for how long it took them to get there. He took Pia the pretty way, seemingly for no reason because she slept through it.
I slept through it. Hi.
They share this awkward meet and greet by pointing out that Pia is from the United States, and Davis is somehow worried that his mother would say something offensive. Understandable, but Davis is so uncomfortable here that even though his mother is being kind and understanding, it doesn't really make sense for him to be uncomfortable. His mother didn't say anything that was really offensive to Pia.
So, did you grow up in America, or are you originally from...
Jesus, Mum.
They made it seem like in this scene that she was going to say something racist.
So, did you grow up in America, or are you originally from...
Jesus, Mum.
If you actually sit there and think about the issue at hand, they live in Scotland. They were doing their schoolwork at their university in England.
I thought you were in London studying woke film theory or whatever you call it, eh?
So it's safe to assume she was going to say England and not something racist. Upon further investigation of the home, Pia finds out that Davis's father, Kenneth, was a police officer and somehow manages to insult the police after informing Janet about the film that they're making. Good job, Pia. It's not unrealistic that she would do this, but I'm really glad that her character acknowledges how fucking stupid it was.
I saw that photo of him, and 20 minutes later, I'm shit-mouthing the cops, like...
They end up having some loud adult time in the quiet home during the dead of the night when Janet could clearly hear them. So far, Davis isn't really looking like he's the best son. He made his mother worry because he took longer than she anticipated to get there, is constantly paranoid about how she views Pia even though she hasn't done anything wrong. How do you not know how quiet your childhood home is? He tells fucking Pia that his mom is obsessed with a show called Bergerac because the actor has a nice butt, in which this happens.
I do not want to think about your mom getting wet over some dude's butt.
Well, he did have a nice one.
Wow, his mother is really cool so far, even though her son is a dick. The couple heads to the pub, where they meet Stuart, who's been having a hard time getting customers because of some serial murders that a man named Ian Adair committed. Stuart also worries about his father, Richard, who is an alcoholic, who spends his time alone. Stuart's mother, before she passed away, had a collection of things about the murders. The story of Ian Adair is that he killed a tourist couple, and Davis clarifies to Pia that he was also indirectly responsible for his father's death. The news of the missing tourists spread around, and Ian Adair actually threatened Richard in the bar by saying he would shoot the place up. More than enough reason to have Kenneth go and arrest him.
A surprise tool that can help us later.
Kenneth goes to check on Ian Adair, and they end up in a shootout. Ian died on the scene, and Davis's father was wounded after finding out that Ian murdered his own parents. He survived the shooting but contracted an illness from the hospital and passed away. They soon discovered horrible murders that Ian Adair was committing in his home. Upon inspection, Pia decides it's a much better story to make a documentary about that than what they had originally planned to do. Understandably too, because who wouldn't want a juicy true crime documentary about Ian Adair? Oh, wait, your boyfriend, who's directly involved in the situation. Maybe show some sympathy first next time instead of after the fact. She gives him this shitty ultimatum. She's a bitch for giving him this ultimatum before sympathizing with him.
He fucking died. That's real. That's not fucking content.
She points out that his mother was a victim and that they could tell their side of the story. I really hate Pia for not leading with this. It really gives a better argument than her original argument of, oh, true crime documentary is good idea, which it is, but it's better to say, hey, let's tell your side of the story and that way maybe we can bring your family some more closure. She blatantly showed him that it was more important to her to make this documentary than it was for their relationship. Awesome girlfriend you got there, Davis. So far, this episode is pretty decent, despite the main protagonists being unlikable. The story is driven in a creepy direction and has a few likable characters like Janet and Stuart. Stuart sees this idea as a marketing scheme to get customers into the pub, so he agrees to help with the production, and the three of them get right to work with this fun montage of them. They really capture a good majority of filmmaking here, from gathering evidence and doing research all the way to making their B-roll. Richard falls down some stairs.
Probably broken, stop touching it!
Ambulance is on the way. You'll be alright, Mr. Kane.
Fuck off!
He's so old, I don't see a problem with this. It's very likely for an old man to fall down the stairs. He's also justifiably angry that they're making a documentary about Ian Adair. Despite it being a personal issue, it's definitely not uncommon for people to see that using someone else's tragedy for content is immoral. Richard is hospitalized, and Janet discovers that Pia and Davis are making a documentary about the man who indirectly killed her husband. She agrees to help them make their film, seemingly because of her own sense of justice.
I want you to. People should know. Everyone should know.
Pia and Davis meet with their production company to discuss the changes made to their plans when they find out that they're not that interested in the story. That's a fat L for the protagonists.
Can you get hold of any new material?
We finally get to see Pia, Davis, and Stuart enter Ian Adair's creepy house to collect some footage of the crime scene.
Hope not.
Oh! Jesus Christ.
They use a UV light to showcase the nasty environment and eventually leave with high spirits. So high of spirits that they end up getting into a car accident that puts Davis into the hospital with Richard. Accidents happen very suddenly, so it's not a bad reason to get Davis and Pia to separate. They clearly needed a reason to get Pia alone for the climax of the episode, so she could be the only one in real danger. Right? Right? Please tell me she ends up in real danger. Pia discovers this fucking insane plot twist that Kenneth, Janet, and Ian were all committing the murders together because Janet just so happened to leave evidence laying around her house.
Ken gave me that.
Okay, what the fuck? Why did Kenneth shoot himself in the leg to make it more believable that he was not involved in the murders when he had probable cause to go to his house in the first place because of fucking Richard? Richard literally said Ian Adair threatened to shoot up his bar. Why the fuck do you have to shoot yourself in the leg after shooting Ian Adair?
Deliberately wounding himself to cover up his role in the slaughter.
That didn't make any sense. He would still be alive right now. So Kenneth is stupid, I guess. Okay, look, I get it. It's not like anyone else was going to find the evidence, but really? She just left it laying around her house? She just left evidence in her living room? The fucking tapes were just there. The Bergerac tapes were just there, laying there in the living room. What the fuck? At least put them in your bedroom or something. I understand that she's an old lady and she doesn't have company. It's a very rural area of Scotland. At least put them in your bedroom. If you do have company, they don't just find your tapes and play them. Pia ends up having this very understandable panic attack, and because of that, all logical thought leaves her brain. She suddenly transforms into the dumbest character I've ever seen. Maybe not ever, but Jesus. It would be logical to conclude that she would feel in danger if it wasn't for the simple fact that there haven't been any murders or people going missing in over a decade. Janet is an elderly woman. You can easily overpower her, if not at least outrun her. Why would she even want to murder her own son's girlfriend? Why would that... What? That would be so self-incriminating. Why would she do that?
Everything all right?
Yes, into the bathroom.
Why are you still here? And why did you leave the evidence that you found? Take it to the police. Oh my god, she actually just left it open and playing for Janet to see. Why did you just leave it there for her to see that you discovered that she was part of the murders? Why did you give her a reason to try to kill you? I understand this is a high stress situation, but it's not an excuse for making it significantly worse. Janet was clearly never interested in murdering you in the first place. She needed 2 men in the footage to get her victims. Her part in the murders was being submissive to the men who physically brought the victims to her as if to show respect to her, like holding a door open for a woman. So Pia reacting this way is blatantly showing Janet that she knows about her part in the murders. This is fucking stupid. Pia leaves, but she's just speed walking trying to get a signal on her phone. Why the fuck aren't you running? Why are you giving your location to your enemy by having the light of your phone on? Hide in the darkness. You know this is a small rural town and you have been here for a few days. You should either already know that the service is bad or be thinking that the local police would call you a crazy American for saying that Janet, a widowed woman who was married to another police officer, is part of the murders? Why would you think the police would believe you? Even if you're not calling the police, why would you call your boyfriend? That would be even worse than calling the police. You want to tell your boyfriend that her mom is what the fuck is happening here? Also, the entire episode is fucking ruined because of this. It's so bad. How does Janet even suddenly turn her lights on in this scene? There's pitch blackness behind Pia. There's no sign of the house even being in the background. So how did she drive all this way in pitch darkness without her fucking lights on? What the fuck is this scene? So she just fucking drove all this way in pitch darkness just to have this spooky scene of her turning her lights on suddenly behind Pia. Pia knows that she left the tape open for Janet to see, so why isn't she running away? Why does she even have this conversation with Janet and allow Janet to pull her vehicle up this close to her? She would be wondering if Janet has a gun or some kind of ranged weapon, since she clearly is too old to physically chase Pia and kill her with a melee weapon. Pia fucking runs into the darkness where she is immediately safe. Her pursuer has a giant floodlight and her location is easily ascertainable. Janet just stands there screaming and doesn't even pursue you. You should know this because the floodlight gives away her location and she's yelling.
You come back now!
Use the sound of her voice to ascertain how far you are away from her. Oh gee, I hope Pia lets her eyes adjust to the darkness so she can pace herself, since she's clearly able to outrun Janet. And if she doesn't pace herself, she could hurt herself by tripping over, I don't know, maybe a rock. She's dead. What the fuck, Netflix? This episode is a fat 4 out of 10. Just an absolutely terrible ending, and the rest of the resolution doesn't even matter because it just shows that the producers are suddenly interested in the story because now there was another person that died and Ian Adair had accomplices.
Complete.